in a judge contest.
The REL, right?
The what? The REL.
Professional.
But everybody has different ideas of what professional is. I mean, a lot of them are probably similar, but does anyone have anything in mind?
A profession is where they self-regulate and self-certify within a profession. So there's some kind of standard or what it means to be part of that.
So they abide by a certain standard.
Yeah,
Okay.
usually self-regulating.
That's actually not, no, that's a good one. Yeah.
People get paid, it's not amateur, so
Right, so there's some incentive for people to stay at a professional level. Be a kid. Anyone else?
So, I mean, I guess if you consider, what would you consider professional attributes of a judge as opposed to unprofessional attributes?
The way they interact with players and each other it tends to be more business-like, collegiate to a degree, and but generally, I mean, unless it's before or after an event, you're not gonna you're not gonna hear judges often like being as crazy as players. He's not at an event.
So they're kind of
That's not to do
The professionalism is tied to reliability, I think. There's an expectation that a professional's task will get executed with a much higher level of reliability. And I think this ties into the idea of punctuality is a version of reliability. If you're professionally responsible for something, I know you're on the hook for it to a large extent rather than just, I ask you to, I hope it'll happen.
Well, I mean, certainly, like, we've got our first subheading as the manner we approach the task. It encompasses, but it's fully defined by how we look, interact, what our punctuality is like, how approachable we are. All of these things have a factor, and people have an expectation of our knowledge, which is linked to what John's saying. We're certified by an overreaching authority, and we're expected to uphold these things in an impartial manner.
And these are all things that if you were a player in the event and you saw a judge, then you kind of expect that of them. You would hope that they kind of follow these. They have a calm demeanor. They're impartial. Of course, these are things you'd expect of professionals.
And then we have some.
We have a question.
Oh, sorry.
So, I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late for the question you were asking.
No.
But I've been taking an engineering ethics class that talks about the ethics of professionalism. So I think that one aspect of professionalism is following the ethics of your profession over your personal ethics when you are practicing it.
Okay, so I guess you put your own wants to the side. If you have a different vision of how something should go, maybe you kind of put that aside for, I guess, someone else, like the greater vision of the greater population.
And that does tie in with something we put in slightly later, that Dan suggested. So our official policy for what we should do to be professional, we have the judge shirt policy, which doesn't really go a lot further than to say this is what it is, and it says it defines the clothing we will wear, but it also defines the scenarios in which it's appropriate for us to wear those. I mean, I'm not supposed to go out binge drinking wearing this, and I don't. Not without something over it. But it doesn't really go very far in terms of instructing us what to do to be professional. It does go quite a bit further to say, don't do these things because they're not professional while you're wearing the judge shirt. I mean, there are instances of things that I guess we'll talk about. The Judge Conduct Committee exists to deal with mostly incidents of severe unprofessionalism amongst judges, and hopefully none of us will ever actually have any real contact with them. And there are things within that Judge Conduct policy that say these are things that if you wish to remain a certified judge, you will not do. You will not end up in jail anywhere in the US and still be a certified judge. So we're going to focus on what we're trying to, what we mean by being professional as opposed to being unprofessional. So you can think of plenty of examples of the latter. So why is it important? Some ideas.
For the sake of consistency and expectations.
Yeah. Like some total.
For player confidence, for lack of a better term.
Winner! and the player confidence thing, I mean, why is it important? Has anyone ever played a game online and somebody's done something clearly illegal in the game? I mean, I guess you're probably playing a workstation or something like that. They've done something. No, that's how it works. And then they say, I'm a judge. And they say, you think that, oh yeah? So, you know, it's very difficult in that limited interaction with, you know, of lines of text, back and forth, to convince them that you know better than them. And, you know, usually it says system lost, player reset, something like that.
So if players are confident, then I guess if you're more confident in your rulings, you look more professional. The players will believe you. They'll really believe that you're more confident, and they believe that you know what you're talking about. And this, well, theoretically anyway, should lead to less like questionable calls. Like maybe they think that the judge was wrong because they are kind of shaky in their ruling, and like normally, I guess it's a reasonable expectation to try and try and bring it up to the head judge. But if they speak in professional demeanor, then that theoretically wouldn't happen as often, right?
So yeah, I mean, it saves us time. I mean, not having to second guess every ruling that we make is going to have a time impact on the event. I did a GP in Toronto, 2009, let's guess. I had a judge on my team that day that got appealed 7 times in that day. That judge wrote the initial iPhone app for judges, had an extremely thorough knowledge of the IPG and the rules and everything, and I am 100% certain that every ruling he made was correct. But clearly something about the way he was delivering those rulings was causing the players to just say, look, this guy clearly doesn't know what he's talking about. Let's appeal it and get an opinion from somebody that upheld it every time, in fact. So, you know, but that did presumably create some delays in the event that were undesirable. So, you know, I wrote in this review that this is definitely an area you need to examine and work on. And the acceptance and understanding, I mean, when you're in your local game store, you get these whispers coming back saying, oh, well, this guy was at this event and this judge did, you know, insert unlikely ruling, as you will. And, you know, a well-presented ruling that if it's necessary, you had to explain why the ruling is this, why the policy says this, to them, they're much more likely to accept that and understand why they've been penalised and not just go home grumbling. It's also useful to have the TOs have confidence in us. You'll get more work. I mean, ideally, that's because they believe in you, but it's also because everybody had a good time and came back to that TO's event, so he's running more of them.
The TO needs to trust your ability to be professional at the risk of. I mean, they're trusting that you're not going to do anything that might drive away customers or that might make customers think that it's not like they won't have a consistent experience there or anything like that. It's like, especially since the TO is the one that ultimately decides to hire you, you want to make sure that make sure you want to give them a good impression.
And essentially, this is the root of what gives us the authority to perform our duties. I mean, particularly the being certified. So definitely gives us the right to stand in front of the room and do it. But, without the
So
to back it up.
So imagine if we were in, like if maybe we were in our judge attire, maybe we had, well, I go to the school and I go to a dorm right across the street, and I could have rolled out of bed 5 minutes ago and gotten here in my pajamas and been right here on time. And imagine if we were both in that situation, maybe a lot of you would think that we didn't really know what we were talking about. So ironically, we were presenting about professionalism, but it's like something that we can't really say that we're a good authority on the subject if we don't look the part as well. And this is like we want you guys to get something, or all of you to get something out of this. And part of that is making you all trust us, trust our ability on the subject.
What I'm looking at here is not. I thought I'd pull up the judge uniform policy while we were on that, or back onto that subject. This is the version off the wiki, and I assume it's the same as any version on any other site. But at high-profile events, the shirt is typically not the only part of the uniform. So, I mean, I've made something of an effort. My shoes are not looking at it. And at local events, being presented as the all-black magic judge isn't always what they want to give us. And then we start on the things that you mustn't do. So don't wear your uniform while playing, trading, or engaging in any activity that may suggest bias towards one player or another. I think that used to be covered in.
So just a little clarification on this. Scott Marshall has said on the forums that if the store finds it useful to have you in your uniform while playing, such as at a pre-release, because the store wants that, that's fine.
Well, you are judging.
Yeah, while you're judging and playing at the pre-release.
If you're playing.
If the store
I think
finds
all
it
of this text
necessary.
predates the we can play in regular events, Roger.
Perhaps.
But I mean, this looks fairly dated wording. We thought about it fairly late on in the presentation, and this was the version I managed to find. But I think that's presumably why it says it that way. Okay, so let's move on. So how can we improve our professional look and feel?
Listen to feedback.
Oh, I see.
Stop cheating.
Oh, I'm good. That's only telling me what's next, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's telling you the next animation.
just switch which monitor.
Yeah.
Oh, the blue.
Well, that is the entirety of my extended family.
Technical help. There you go.
Close it this time. There we are. We can use judge learning tools beyond this, things like this conference. What else might that encompass?
The judge app that you were talking about? The app that the judge wrote that you talked about?
Yeah, I guess.
The forum?
I would say the knowledge pool in the forum specifically.
The knowledge pool tends to explore corner case ruling scenarios and not really anything that you've ever used in the real world.
Yes, it does.
I think that is yours.
The other one I was going to suggest is Judge Cast.
There's what?
Judge Cast?
Judge Cast, yeah, and
I wanted to clarify this a little bit. Are we asking how we can improve as judges, or how we can improve our professionalism?
yeah, it really is. You know, they're so interlinked to it.
Well, this is the scope of this presentation is primarily, well, the part that we're on is for professionalism, so we're trying to focus mostly on that. Although they do overlap a lot of things. So.
I mean, yes, if you want to improve your detailed rules or knowledge of the rules, then the knowledge pool places a reasonable place to go.
Well, we have a whole community of judges that we're all invested in the same thing, well, in Magic and judging events and everything. And we all want to, and maybe if one judge is acting unprofessionally and maybe just in a very extreme case, maybe very unprofessional, then it reflects a little bit on all the judges as a whole. Like if a judge maybe a judge throws like a racial slur somewhere. That's unprofessional. That's not good. And if I was a judge in the room with somebody else who did that, maybe I would say, well, I would try to distance myself from them. I guess. Well, I mean, first I would try to explain what's going, like why that's not good, and why that doesn't reflect judges as a whole, or like the judge community as a whole. But there are a whole bunch of us that the point I was getting to is that we're all invested in being a professional, and because ultimately it also affects our own image.
Nobody mentioned mentors, but I mean, I recall at my first pro tour I went to, I was, somebody observed me taking a judge call, and they gave me some feedback right there and then, and told me that, if I rather than sort of sneering down on them, if I approached them at the table at their level, they were more likely to engage with me and feel looked after.
Especially if as I've been the judge a lot for a shorter time than Simon has, and what I found is in earlier events there maybe a head judge to help you or something, then I would kind of like when I was still trying to get the gist of doing competitive events. I would kind of follow their demeanor and follow their lead. If they do something, or like I would assume that they know how to communicate with players better than I would. Maybe they're just more experienced. So it's just recent in my mind following the footsteps of L2s, or I guess you could say mentors in this case.
And experience gets you a long way in this. What works, you pick up on it. Remember it, do it again. Any other suggestions of ways to improve our college?
Like enforcing the standards with others, because we're all part of the same profession. We're all professionals in this together. So if you see somebody that, they forgot their belt or something, that's just an appearance thing. Or if you see somebody that acts unprofessionally towards a player or towards a staff member, we all have a responsibility to uphold and correct that. Because like you said, Dan, it reflects on us. So it's going to reflect on us anyway, but also if they want to be part of the group that we're in and we all want to be part of the group together, we all uphold the standards with each other.
As judge managers and TOs and head judges, we can also set expectations and be very clear. Hey, you're going to work this event, you're representing Wizards of the Coast, you're representing the TO, you're representing yourself, you're representing the rest of the staff, and just reinforcing the point that you're not just, Jason Riendo, some guy who showed up to, tell people that here's where you're playing. You're Jason Riendo, a guy who's representing a whole bunch of people.
And that's pretty much sounding like it's almost becoming the form letter for all the judge applications. It says, be prepared to work hard, be prepared to perform these tasks and more. Well,
I think there's some great outside articles not produced by our community but are nevertheless applicable. from puff pieces about how a police officer like gives tickets but no one ever complains about him, to some of Google's work on what causes teams to succeed, and also on the radical candor series that Paul has touched on this conference, to like the 5 levels of delegation and those management tools. All these can reading basically.
Did anyone go to judging as a career skill? What? That was in the last time. Sounds like it.
Judging as a career skill is now.
Oh, yeah.
Right
now in room 220.
Well, that'll be why then. Zero was a bit, you know.
Like, nobody went to that? What?
Okay, we'd like to volunteer for this next bit.
Hello.
Well, all you have to do is sit in the chair. I mean, sorry. And then we're going to have a judge call where you're a new player.
So, my Knight of New Alara says that each other multicolored creature I control gets 1/1 for each of its colors. But is my Shadow Mage Infiltrator a creature that's both blue and black? Is that multicolored?
Wow, so So let's sort of talk about. We'll pretend I was out of the area shot, but what's the likely impact on the players that do hear and say something like that can be? I mean, is that still a broken?
I mean, even if that person didn't hear you, like somebody else hears you, you're like, oh, maybe he's gonna say that about me. Like, if he just thinks I'm an idiot, like it's not gonna make them want to interact with you. It's not gonna make them think that you're a pleasant human being or relate to you in any way.
If I call a judge, this guy's gonna call me an idiot. Why should I call a judge?
No, I'm not saying that.
The next time then, after hearing that, the next time that I call a judge, I'm gonna be worried about what the judge thinks of me. Instead of just trying to tell the judge what I need help with and trying to get help, I'm gonna be worried that they'll think I'm stupid or that they'll think I'm foolish for even asking that question.
So also, it like creates a negative experience, like customer service experience, people that hear you. And then they just like, they're afraid to come back.
When I did it, I heard the whole room sniggering. I mean, I think they were all amused when they come back. Let's take John.
So one of the things, somebody may know, I just retired from the Army, and I had 20 years of service. Yeah, you can tell I'm retired now. But here's the thing. We deal with things at West Point where you have cultures of groups, and sometimes those are toxic cultures. And one of the things that we have to help the cadets understand is that if you put down or alienate or do something against some subgroup or some other group that's not even part of your group, it destroys your ability to lead. And what I mean is, so I'm a judge and you're a judge, and if I see you're the senior judge at the event and you do something like this, even though I'm not part of that group, the group that's defined by Dan right now, the dumb, but you're still doing something against somebody that now I don't want to follow you as a leader. So you can do it in a lot of different ways. If you're, say, against women, I'm not a woman, but I don't want to follow you as your leadership because you're putting down one group, even though I'm not part of that group. So it destroys your leadership as a judge, both the leadership that you have when the players see you as a judge, but also if you're one of the senior judges at an event, it destroys your ability to lead the rest of the judges. Yep. Even though I may not be part of that group that you're putting down, but I still don't want to follow you.
Yeah.
Chris? I would say just sort of from a player's perspective, it's potentially that they've been less likely to call us when they should be. And they start listening to their opponents more often, which is not typically something you should be doing.
I don't want to be called dumb. I'm not going to talk to these people.
Anyone else? Or should we move on? Absolutely.
I just really think it's fun to get called. I like getting called, and I'd rather, get called. I tell people I prefer to get called than to sit and twiddle my thumbs at the end because I like answering calls.
So here's a fun related scenario. So at a recent GP, someone asked how Dramoka's command works, and they commented that they had never seen that card before. And for all of you who play Standard, it's pretty common in Standard to get played. Is saying, hey, I got this call where someone just didn't know what Dramoka's command did at all. Is that considered unprofessional if it's said out loud to a judge in the privacy of, let's say, the judge room or lunch?
I mean, who has never sat in the judge room and discussed some amusing calls that have come up during the tournament? I mean,
I've been a judge for 20 minutes.
Congratulations! Welcome to the trial.
Can I try to answer that?
Yeah.
It depends on how you present it. If you present it as, God, players are so dumb these days, they don't even know what Dramoka's command is. That's different than, this is really interesting to me.
Yeah, I don't usually hear these days, but...
but that's very different than, like, this was a really interesting call because I didn't realize that not everybody knows it. Very different ways to talk about it.
Yeah. So, how can we get out of the mindset that does that sort of thing? I mean, I think what John said was very valuable in there. It said you need to be out of that mindset because there are very serious ramifications to it. But I guess mostly this is self-discipline. You need to view everybody as a valuable part of this tournament. I mean, I think it really helps you to see the tournament organizer's perspective, actually. I mean, the new players coming in, paying their entry fee, they're unlikely to be taking much out of the prize pool. They are basically there supporting the tournament with no real, perhaps often no realistic expectation from it. And, it's very important to treat them well. Let's go on.
We're going to talk a little bit about bias. Does anyone have maybe a definition of what they think bias is?
It's predisposition towards one effort.
Okay.
That's simple.
Predisposition. Anything else that's in?
That's correct.
Alright. Well, here's what we thought. An element that prevents you from being impartial to situations. So pretty much what you said.
Well, there's lots of things that cause us to want something. I mean, we would like to believe that we're entirely impartial when we approach a table, that whatever really happens is what's going to come out of this. But that's not, in many situations, going to be the 100% scenario.
Bias comes from it comes from a lot of sources. Everyone has conflicts of interest. Maybe they have something in their job description to do something one way, but maybe their personal opinions think there's something to be done another way. That's a form of bias. The reputation. If somebody's known for for being right 99% of the time, then they're going to. Then I guess and then you have all the players that think maybe there's a ruling that's supposed to go one way, and this judgment is supposed to go the other way, and then maybe there's some pressure from these players to do what they think is the right way. That's kind of biased. You're torn between like doing what the players want, or what all the players are expecting, and maybe what you know is maybe it's a newly updated rule or something like that. And the players they don't always think the rules fair, particularly if they're on the wrong side of it. And you need to be okay with kind of people getting punished for doing something wrong in the rules. And that's like something that not everybody wants to do. I mean, judges can be comfortable with it, but they don't.
Well, it can also be that what they've done falls under a ruling, and like drawing extra cards was always a very harsh ruling, because it was very difficult to detect. So it carried a much heavier penalty than it necessarily deserved if it was easily detected. A lot of draws that were by mistake were penalised by the ones that again. This has obviously been revised in the. Is it the most recent RPG change? Or is it two?
It's recent though.
It's definitely
from last summer.
this current block. Yeah.
Well, precedence is, it also kind of contributes to this. Maybe if there's been a way of thinking in the past.
Has anybody in the room ever taken a judge call from, who's the Star City Games guy who's been banned twice? Right.
Oh, Alex Ferngini, yeah.
You've taken a call. Is he very convincing? Is he very amiable? I kind of assume that he must be very easygoing for judges to rule on, basically.
He has a very good talent for not making you immediately hate him. Mm-hmm. Even when you're like, man, this guy,
very, very
I feel like this guy's cheating. But he doesn't seem like he's cheating, he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, no, and that's, and that's, you approach him with bias. I mean, you want to catch him cheating. The outcome that you want is predetermined, but, you need to tread the high road and maintain your impartiality. And what he's saying to you is also pulling you the other direction. Saying, he can't be cheating, he's a nice guy. And it's going to bias you.
It also can work the other way, where some players are obnoxious, and you really are trying to not find a way to rule for them, but you just sort of have to because they're right, even though they're just obnoxious about it.
Absolutely. I mean, and you're biased in each of these situations, and it's something you kind of need to be aware that you're human. There are many people that will rub you the wrong way, and you will just think, wow, I really hope that guy gets the wrong end of this call, Let's go, Dom.
In addition to that, in perceiving bias, it's easy to also walk into the trap of going into a situation and thinking, all right, this is going to be a hostile call. So, for example, anytime when Alex Ferngini was not banned the second time, anytime that he'd be at an event, I would have at least one player come up to me, or the head judge, or someone else who's working at the event and say, I think Alex Ferngini is cheating by doing X, Y, Z. And so, even when he got unbanned, he just had this smug attitude about him. He had his Twitch name as 3 Explorers for a while.
It was 2 Explorers.
It was something stupid like that. And it's just so easy to think of him as a schmuck. But when you walk into that situation, you have to be. It's difficult to separate your personal opinion of him from your professionalism.
Somebody else will hand up.
Yeah, this is sort of the opposite side of bias, which is the misused and arguably.
Well, I mean, it's all bias. It's just, you need to acknowledge that you've got your own internal preferences, and you need to maybe, you need to account for it.
Classic scenario. Something happens, your floor judge says something happened this way, and the player says it happened totally different in a way that's incompatible. Such as, he deck checked me, and I hadn't presented, in fact, I hadn't even shuffled my deck to begin with. And the question is, who do we believe here? There may be a bias towards believing your floor judge with no reason to lie to you.
I mean, we've got a third opinion who there's an opponent there for sure. I'm inclined to agree with the players if they both want to go the same way. But,
For what it's worth, the opponent has a strong bias towards a free game win.
I agree. I mean, there are many occasions where you have to rule that they're not getting the free game win, and that's one of the things you need to sell that ruling to them. Who's read are they still around, the old judge? There used to be a judge article called "Selling a Ruling." It was,
Right.
I'm sure it's around.
I think we have to look at it the other way too, because we're judges, and we had talked about how everybody sees us as judges regardless of what we're doing. So we have to be careful the other way, because if you're at an event and somebody is making a ruling involving you, or somebody asks your opinion of something, it can be easy for us to fall into that and not, we gotta think about like what's going on, because I know there's times when somebody said, well, this looks like this, but I know you're a judge, so it's not that way.
Well, I'm pretty sure if I'm playing in an event, 60, 70% of the time, if I call a judge over, I know how to manipulate the judge into giving me the ruling I want. You know, I don't usually feel that that's appropriate for me to do that. So, but I think it can be done, and the judge will be usually expecting to believe what I'm saying because they know me as a judge and expect that I know what I'm doing. Whereas it's not always.
Just like, kind of similar to like even managing your players' biases too when you're playing with them, if they know you're a judge, because they won't call on you as often, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
So I can't really fix it, but I don't know.
I mean, something to be conscious of.
Yeah.
Right.
More likely to call it on yourself.
I mean,
I had to call a judge over the other day and say, Judge, I'm pretty sure I lose the game.
Right. But usually they won't, so I'm good.
Yeah, these are all things that kind of compromise our ability to be 100% judges 100% of the time. But we are kind of treading, or we're kind of getting into territory where you have to figure out how to, I guess, how to balance your bias and professionalism, like how to not be too biased that's actually affecting performance. Yeah, exactly.
so what we have to do is we have to tread a line, and you know that's where we have to use our judgment. You know what passes for banter in terms of abusing the players and calling them dumb when they're making mistakes. That amuses some players. That excludes others. So you need to tread your line. What's gonna keep the players coming back? Which ultimately really is our goal, is to make sure that they've enjoyed themselves and they will come back. Not every store and tournament environment is the same. I mean, we were talking about this in 2 seminars ago in Lance presentation. We were talking about, well, our group was talking about toxic environments that you know, and how to solve them. Yeah, Corbin and I had a almost enthusiastic exchange about whether all tournament experiences at competitive should be the same. I don't know if we were actually arguing about the same thing, but you know, we didn't entirely see eye to eye on it. So you know, I think a 16-player GPT is not the same as an 80-player IQ at a big store for competitive events, and I will expect the rules to be applied in the same way, but they will not be the same environment.
When you
So the need. Oh yeah, go on.
I was going to say that. Well, I know we've kind of. I remember hearing this in a couple of the seminars today, but when you give a ruling, you need to, instead of saying, "I'm going to give you a game loss," you want to say, "Well, this is what happens, so you get a game loss." It's like not only does it kind of take a target off your head, I guess they don't think that it's you person to give them one or give them a game loss. It just I mean, yeah, that's I'm sorry. Yeah, it gives the impression that you're not biased, that you're not like saying I want you to get a game loss, so I'm going to give you a game loss.
That's the reason you don't apologize.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so it's tempting to apologize, and I think I've done that once or twice. Apologize when you give a ruling, but it's kind of just you need to be confident and say that this is the way it is. It's unfortunate, or maybe it's unfortunate that it's that way, but this is the action, what's the result, and try to keep all bias out of it. And understanding the philosophy itself is important enough. If somebody wants to question you on your ruling, and you want to be able to explain to them why this rule is in place, Like, 'cause in the moment, if somebody has a ruling against them, then they think that this ruling doesn't make any sense. Why is it even here? It's some things that they might not have questioned before, but are doing now since it's hurt them. Knowing the philosophy makes it gives us a chance to explain it without throwing our own opinion in it. The philosophy is clearly written, and it's something that we need to understand if we want to effectively convey the meaning behind the rules.
And at the same time, it's often worth saying to them that we need you to play on with the match, but after it's over, come and talk to me and I'll explain it in detail. Forget it. So we got another little scenario that we may as well go through.
Yeah. Has anyone ever judged been involved in a judge call with their friend playing?
Oh, certainly.
Yeah.
Like we could equivalent of put your hands up, got no friends.
Definitely happens.
So if you want to come and call me again for another judge.
Alright, so I will untap your shadow mage infiltrator you're attacking with my 1,000 year elixir. And then my shadow mage will block it. That's it.
I don't know. It doesn't look like you can't untap this. It does,
Oh, it says untap card.
Judge.
Hey, well, what's going on? Is this guy trying to cheat you out of a win again?
So he's attacking with his 3/5 he's attacking with his 3/5 shadow mage infiltrator, and I untap it with my 1,000 year elixir, and he says I can't untap his dude with my 1,000 year elixir, but it says untap target creature. I think he's confused because it says you may play the activated abilities of creatures you control.
We've been friends for so long, though. Can you just help me out here? Remember that one time I got you a beer?
But I can untap that, right, when it attacks me?
So what's to talk about? So when I come up, I say, I greet Will by name, I essentially ignore the opponent and then even gone so far as to suggest, what's he trying to do to you? So, do you think both of them feel that they're going to get the most objective ruling from this situation? I mean, no. And then and other people in the room are going to see that and essentially get the same takeaway from it. Really.
If people are going to look at it and say that, well, especially if the ruling goes in the favor of his friend, some people might look at it and they might analyze the ruling a little more critically and see if it was truly an impartial ruling.
Well, they may not, observers may not know anything of my history with any of these things, so,
But what can you do to make sure that, or to ensure its impartiality?
You can do that in a bigger tournament. You can send somebody else to take the call, but...
With multiple judges, it's easy to just say, accuse yourself, or ask for another judge to come in and assist with the rules. But even in smaller tournaments, act as if you do not know the players, perhaps.
Yeah.
Present yourself as
I think...
in a professional role as opposed to a personal role.
Yeah, I mean, actually, you've strayed into some territory I did want to touch, which was back in 2006 when I went to my first pro tour. I went to see how my brother-in-law, who was playing, was doing after his round, and Sheldon Henry sort of said, "We're not supposed to go and chat with players. Well, I'm still at the table." But I think that's kind of changed. It's accepted that we're friends with some players, we're not necessarily with others. We just need to manage it.
So the other things that you need to do is make sure that both players are engaged in the ruling and that both players have a serious chance to have input. Yeah. And then also do a very good job of explaining, here's the ruling, here's why this ruling is like this, and do your best to sell it to both players.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're starting out like that, you need to really dig your way out of that hole.
So I had a situation at the most recent release event for Host of the Game Watch where a friend of mine was playing against another player who knew me well, knew that this guy was a friend of mine, and I was the only judge for the event. And I approached the situation very professionally, and after the ruling, even though I gave my friend the game loss, his opponent went up to complain to the tournament organizer about the way I handled the ruling.
And players do object to getting free wins.
Well, no,
I mean,
I gave
as many as really want the free wins.
So he got the free win.
Many object to getting.
He got the free win, and then after I gave him the free win, he went and complained to the tournament organizer.
Let's take money and then we'll
Alright,
try and
you guys have like a minute.
Yeah.
Briefly, just how to keep it impartial. If I recognize the players playing, I still don't address them by name when I show up. I never address them by name unless their name came up in the conversation. If they're your friends, you can always deal with, oh, you felt like you were really cold to me when you were drinking. You can deal with them afterwards. You're their friends. But your goal to them is them as players, and that includes the opponent. So just go up and do your best. And just not referring to them by name helps take you even a little bit out of the mindset of, I'm going to talk to my friend at the exclusion of the other players.
I'm sure something we've all related to.
So who else has actually given their ride home from Canada?
I got a game loss from my boyfriend on Sunday,
I think we're supposed to wind up. And I think, go on.
You were talking about how your judges and players who you as judges who you are. And I was at a tournament at DC when I was observing my friend's game, and he committed an action that I did not know was illegal at the time, but let him win the game. They both were like, all right, let's go to the next game. And they both realized simultaneously that the card doesn't work that way. And so I called the judge over, and the opponent was upset because he thought that I had intentionally let my friend commit the illegal action and only call the judge over after he had started picking up his product.
I mean, that's I don't want to be in your shoes though.
No. I understand that. I completely sympathize with their being upset, but at the same time, they ended up agreeing what the board state was before they picked up their product, and my friend and the opponent also got warnings for failure to maintain and GRP.
All right. Well, we're out of time. Okay. All right. Yeah. So Tasha and Emerson talked about inclusive communities, which is very linked to what Ilan's presentation was about as well. I mean, it's all about how to prepare.
Yeah, it all ties to being impartial or maintaining your privilege.
And Amanda's presentation is all about things that you shouldn't do. So that's it.
How do we access
Thank you for listening. I'll put it on there if anyone actually wants it. It's very brief.
put up their presentation?
Sorry?
It's just another reading their presentation.
Oh, those. Ask them thread. I'll link it. There is stuff in there together.
Alright.
Right.